SAFW Live Event, February 10th, 2020.
Just let me know when. Just let me know when, man.
When?
Cool. All right, so this is exciting. This is the first ever live event for Social Academy for Women. And I am incredibly honored and pleased to be able to host this and hopefully give you a tremendous amount of value. Now, this was inspired because we recently decided to do something new. Normally, in the past, we had done our best to come up with content, to come up with things that were relevant, whether in social media, celebrity gossip, something that happened in my personal life, or what have you. We wanted to come up with something that was relevant to people, and we would kind of just guess and do our best. And what we decided to do instead was create a questionnaire. And the questionnaire is really designed to figure out, the people that do follow Social Academy, what it is that you're dealing with specifically, so that way we can solve it once and for all. And we provided a number of different problems that we thought women were dealing with, essentially. And we wanted to figure the data. We wanted to figure out what was the most common problem that you all faced, and then tackle it head on. So the first question that we asked was, do women struggle finding a quality partner, or do they struggle more with keeping someone that they're really, truly interested in? And the data showed overwhelmingly that women struggle finding a quality partner far more than they do actually keeping them once they have them. So the first topic we're going to talk about is where and how to find a quality partner. That being said, there were other issues that were brought up, one of which is how to recognize red flags early. A common theme was, is it a red flag or is it just in my head? And so we'll be sorting that out as we go along. Number 3 is ensuring your partner doesn't get lazy in the relationship once you have it, because that is a relationship killer to be sure. Number 4 is along the same vein, but kind of like I'm in a relationship and actually my partner has gotten lazy. What do I do? How to get men to invest equally in the relationship once you're in the relationship. Number 5 is dealing with men that get too sexual too quickly. And then number 6, how to know when to keep trying versus let go in your relationships. So we'll start with number 1, where and how to find a quality partner. Now, this one's interesting because it depends on what type of man you're interested in. It depends on who you are as an individual. So I will try my best to be as all-encompassing but specific as I can to make this relevant to anyone that's listening. Who are you? What do you want? What makes you unique? What are your interests, your passions, your hobbies? Are you someone who's super nerdy and likes to do cosplay? Well, I would say conventions is a great place to find someone who shares your passions and hobbies. Are you someone who likes to cook? Go to meetup.com and find a group of people who are chefs in your local area and hang out with them, bond with them, interact with them, and build relationship with people. Oftentimes, the best relationships come from friendships that we share common interests and passions with. So things of that nature, right? Figure out who you are, what your passions are, what makes you unique, and then really what you're looking for in a partner. Now, there are definitely other elements to it. For example, understanding the PEN model is probably one of the easiest ways to help you figure out who you're most compatible with as a partner. And the PEN model, P-E-N, is a psychological study that was done that basically, it's a personality assessment. P stands for psychotic, E stands for extrovert, and N stands for neurotic. Now, someone who is high psychotic in this personality assessment is someone who makes very emotional decisions, right? They're very go with the flow, spontaneous. If I don't feel like going to work today, I'm not gonna. They just kind of make decisions on a whim based on how they feel. Someone who's a low psychotic is much more conscientious. Someone who does what they say they're going to do, no exceptions. They're very by the book and they follow the rules and they have their own strict moral guidelines that they follow. Someone, again, who does what they say they're going to do. E is extrovert. Someone who is very outgoing, gregarious, social, likes to meet new people. Obviously, low extroversion is introversion. So if you're more indoors, kind of Netflix and chill and cuddle up with your partner, that's, your ideal partner would be someone different for you. Finally, neurotic. Someone who is a high neurotic is, how do I describe it? Someone who often has mental checklists going off in their head. Someone who is constantly thinking about what could go wrong or trying to make sure everything goes right, rather. Whereas someone who is a low neurotic is more Hakuna Matata, right? No worries. They're more interested in living in the moment. They're not really stressed about the future too much. And depending on where you are in the PEN scale, P-E-N, your ideal and most compatible partner is going to be very, very different. So there was a separate study done that basically tried to figure out what categories of men were universally attractive to women across cultures. What they found was there were 4. It is the bad boy, the leader, the nice guy, and the provider. Doesn't matter where you go in the world, apparently. It doesn't matter what age group you ask women or what religion, ethnicity, what have you. These 4 categories are universally considered attractive. So depending on where a woman scores on the PEN model, I can accurately predict what her ideal partner would be with a very high degree of accuracy. Now, like all things, it's not an exact science, but it is incredibly accurate. And if this gives you a tremendous benefit and you have an aha moment, definitely let me know in the comments, and I'd love to know that I'm sharing something great. So a psychotic, right? Someone who is emotionally spontaneous. Her ideal partner is definitely going to be a bad boy. A bad boy makes decisions regardless of consequences. He feels her need for spontaneity. He feels her need for excitement and adventure. That being said, we'll go over the fatal flaws of all 4 categories of men, but we'll cover them briefly for now. The extrovert's ideal type is the leader of men, someone who's a networker, who can walk into a room and make friends with anyone he meets. He feels her need for extroversion, to be social, to be, to live a fun, I don't want to say spontaneous, but social lifestyle. There we go. And then the neurotic. Her ideal type is actually the nice guy. It turns out nice guys don't finish last. They just have to find the right partner. A nice guy is someone who caters to his woman, who's very attentive, who's present, who understands her emotional needs and makes her feel better, right? The neurotic is someone who has mental checklists going on. She's stressed. She's trying to make sure everything's good, that the kids are taken care of, that she's not late for work. And so a man who's present for her, who can be a rock for her, and who really just lets her know that she's okay, right? The nice guy. Oftentimes it's highly appreciated in a woman who scores very high in neuroticism. Now, if you'll notice, there's a 4th that's left out, the provider. The provider is sort of the Hugh Hefners of the world, right? Resources, money. Money is attractive. Resources are attractive. They do make someone attractive. That being said, someone who is purely a provider, a male who is purely a provider, often lacks substance. And what that means is while he might be able to find a partner, he might be able to get a girlfriend, that relationship often won't last very long unless he can embody the other characteristics, whether it's bad boy, leader, or nice guy. And so, yeah, those are the 4 categories and where they all stand. That being said, I promised you that I would explain the fatal flaws of each and how to avoid them. The bad boy. The bad boy's fatal flaw is that the bad boy can be somewhat of an a-hole, right? He can go too far. And the key distinction between each of these, right? You want a bad boy, you don't want an a-hole. And the key distinction is someone who has emotional intelligence, someone who has social intelligence, someone who can basically read body language and understand what's socially acceptable, what's not, and how to respect the other person. That's a combination of social and emotional intelligence. The other side of it is the leader. The leader's fatal flaw is that he can be bossy, right? There's a difference between, hey babe, let's go out, find a fancy dress, I'm gonna take you out, we're gonna do something special, I'm gonna take you out for a great night. and someone who, basically says, hey, we're going out, I don't care what you say, we're going. Like, one's probably more appreciated than the other. Someone who tells you to get their drinks for them and doesn't really ask what you want, that's bossy. That's not nice. That's not a leader. A leader inherently has social and emotional intelligence. The nice guy. The nice guy's fatal flaw is that he can be clingy. And one of the ways to ensure that you're not dating a clingy nice guy is to ensure that the guy that you're dating, if he is a nice guy, if you're a neurotic and that's what you're interested in, is to make sure that he has a passion, that he has something outside of you that gives him purpose in life. Because the problem with a nice guy is that he gives so much of his attention to you that you're his world, and that's a beautiful thing. We all want that in a partner. But when you are everything, then you can have a partner that's a little clingy. If they have a mission, if they have a business, if they have a community work project, philanthropy work, what have you, something outside of you that gives them purpose, then they're often not likely to be clingy because they find meaning and purpose in other areas of their life, not just you. And that way, when they're with you, they can be present with you, not just trying to get something, trying to get good feelings from their partner. And then, of course, the provider just lacks substance. But a provider with emotional and social intelligence is the difference between someone who flaunts money and thinks they're great and someone who understands that, maybe I can contribute. Maybe I can give to the homeless. Maybe I can show my friends out for a great time and feel great about it without feeling like I'm the most important thing in the room, right? Maybe my friends are the most important thing in the room. And I want to be a great provider. That's someone with emotional and social intelligence. So yeah, there you have it. Where and how to find a quality partner. Just understand where you are in the Penn model and basically what it is that you're most attracted to. If this is helpful to you, let me know. I'd love to hear it in the comments section. Was this helpful to you in the class? Yes? Cool. Number 2, recognizing red flags early. Am I moving around too much, man? My bad.
That's all right.
No, I see you moving the camera.
That's what I'm here for.
All right, cool. Recognizing red flags early. This one is really interesting because I often find that people get into relationships and 6 months, a year down the road, of course, we all have our best selves put forward when we meet someone new. And then once, we're really into a relationship, we get really comfortable and we start showing our true colors. We start getting a little too comfortable. And there's probably some red flags early on that could have predicted these. How to recognize the red flags is really through conversation. It's something I like to call qualification. Qualification is a social engineering technique. And I could go on and on and on about qualification. And if you're interested in it, we do offer coaching for anyone that's interested in learning how to go further into qualification to make sure that they can recognize red flags. However, I'll give you some basic examples for now. Let's say that you are someone who identifies as a high psychotic, high extrovert, right? You like to be really spontaneous and adventurous, and you want to live a fun lifestyle. You want to have tons of friends in your life. And you meet a great guy, and maybe he's a nice guy, and he makes you feel good. And you're not really sure, is he an extrovert? Like, he seems friendly. He's down to do fun things every now and again, but is this really a bad boy? Is this really a leader? Well, you can use qualification to find out which category of men you're dealing with quite easily. And it comes off as regular conversation. You're not really playing 20 questions. A common mistake people make is they'll, so are you looking to have kids? Because, my internal time clock is ticking and I'm looking to have kids, and you'll scare men very quickly if you do weird things like that. And you'll scare men away very quickly if you do weird things like that. However, if you just incorporate, the fact that you are looking for kids, the fact that you are, someone who likes to be social and spontaneous into normal conversation, you can very easily figure out what kind of man you're dealing with. So, for example, Tell me, are you someone who likes to be, spontaneous and outgoing? Do you like going out and meeting new people, or are you more of a, let's stay in and cuddle and watch Netflix? Now, notice the way I asked that question. None of them are really judgmental. You give them freedom to express who they really are. If they say, I like going out sometimes, but quite frankly, I really just enjoy my downtime, then great, you might have a friend, right? You might have someone that might make great company that you can hang out with every so often, but probably wouldn't make an ideal partner for you long term because you guys wouldn't get along very well. He'd want to stay home, you'd want to go out, maybe there's jealousy, you guys have distance, you guys aren't connecting in the way that you started to in the beginning of the relationship. So there are red flags that you can figure out very, very early. Some deeper, more insidious red flags that women often deal with. Men, in my experience, aren't terribly honest about the fact that they would love open relationships. And oftentimes this comes at the expense of women who are looking for an intimate relationship that they can, an intimate partner that they can be in a relationship with, someone that they can build a life with. And of course, men, they say they want that, and yet many of them, I'm not saying all of them, but many of them will often cheat behind your back, and it's incredibly hurtful and it's incredibly damaging, and you might wonder, what's wrong with me? Well, qualification can help you with this. One of the ways that I like to teach it is by telling a story, telling a third-party story. So for example, you could say, as the woman on a date, I have a girlfriend of mine, and she told me this incredible story. She started dating openly. And so now whenever she meets a guy, she's like, hey, I just want to let you know off the bat, I'm only interested in open relationships. If you're not okay with that, that's totally fine. We can be friends. But if you are, great, I really like you. And what she often finds is that most men are like, yeah, I'd love an open relationship. And you tell this story, whether, maybe it's true, maybe it isn't, but you tell a story. And then you see how the male that you're interacting with reacts to that story. A potential partner, a potential friend, someone you've just met who you might be interested in. If he reacts by saying, oh my God, that's amazing, I'm definitely using that, then you're dealing with someone who probably wants an open relationship. And the key behind this story, this qualification technique, is to make it okay to talk about taboo subjects. If you're interested in somebody and somebody's interested in you, they're probably not going to tell you, hey, I'd rather see other women, but I really like you. Like, they probably won't do that. If you make it okay to say something like that, then you're not saying, look, I'm going to judge you and think you're a pig for doing it. You're just saying, my girlfriend has done this thing, and if you agree with it, then I now know that you're probably someone who's interested in an open relationship. In which case, you and I can be friends. You're not going to say this outright, but in your head, you're going to know it. But in your head, you're going to know it. You're going to recognize the red flags very, very early. You're actually going to make it okay for them to say, hey, I have this flag, this thing. And maybe it's a red flag for you, maybe it's not. Maybe you are looking for an open relationship. But it's socially acceptable because you've made it that way, and you are less likely to have to deal with this problem in your relationships because you've addressed it early. Number 3, ensuring your partner doesn't get lazy in a relationship. Now, 3 and 4, someone brought to my attention that they're very, very similar, right? 3 is ensuring they don't get lazy. 4 is how to make sure that they invest equally in the relationship. To me, they are similar, but one is more proactive, one is more reactive. One is saying, maybe I'm single or it's early in a relationship and I want to make sure my partner doesn't get lazy. The other is saying, I'm in a relationship and my partner has definitely gotten lazy. So one's more proactive, one's reactive, and we're going to address both. So one way you can ensure that your partner doesn't get lazy, whether it's chores, whether it's romance and intimacy, whether it's taking you out, what have you, is also through qualification, actually. If you say to your partner, I absolutely love it when you and I just spend one-on-one time together. We go out for a romantic dinner, for a movie. Nothing lights up my world quite like that. If you say something to that effect, you are now letting him know that that is the thing he should be doing most often with you. Now, provided that you've qualified for the right type of partner, assuming you're a high neurotic and you want a nice guy, or a high psychotic and you want a bad boy. If you've qualified for the right partner, now you got to qualify for the quality of the relationship to ensure that your partner doesn't get lazy. Again, it seems like normal conversation, but really what you're doing is you're making it very clear what you want your partner to be doing, and then actually rewarding them for it, making them feel like they're amazing, like they're the best person in the world because they can light you up in such a way by doing this thing. And so qualification at its core is really just filtering out things that you don't want and keeping the things that you actually do want, whether in a person or behavioral traits or patterns of behavioral, that sort of thing. How to get men to invest equally in the relationship once you're in the relationship. Okay, so let's say you've been together for a while, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years, I don't know how long it's been. And things have gotten stale. You guys aren't really investing equally anymore. In the beginning, if you asked for a favor, they're like, yeah, I'd love to take out the trash for you. I would do anything for you. And then 10 years down the road, it's like, I'm not your maid. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, you start to get really complacent with each other. If that's where you are, then one thing you have to recognize is that the number one killer in a relationship is me thinking. If you're constantly thinking about me, it's selfish thinking. If you're thinking about your partner, your chances of improving the quality of the relationship skyrocket significantly. Now, you may be wondering, well, if I'm the only one thinking about my partner and my partner's constantly being selfish, then, this is still never going to work. Maybe, but I would challenge you to go deeper. Is it that, you're doing everything and your partner isn't doing anything? Or is it that, maybe you feel like you're doing everything and, it doesn't seem like your partner's appreciating your efforts? Well, it could be that you and your partner have different love languages. Maybe you are someone who your love language is acts of service, right? You do the dishes, you do the laundry, you pick up or you do things for them. You get them coffee on the way home, and they don't seem to appreciate it. And you're like, what the hell? Like, I do all of these things for you, these amazing, thoughtful things for you, and you don't appreciate it. Well, your partner might be that might not be their love language. Your partner might be more into physical affection, right? Touch. Intimacy. They might be more into words of affirmation. I love you. That sort of thing. So it's important to understand what your love language is and what your partner's love language is, and then to really have an open dialogue with you and your partner to really figure out how you're meeting each other's needs. Are you assuming that you're meeting your partner's needs and then just thinking that he's taking you for granted, or are you not doing it in a way that he would naturally be the most receptive to? And vice versa. Maybe, I don't want to pick on men, but maybe that's something you're doing. Maybe you're both guilty of it. And I think that this can be an amazingly healthy and open conversation that you and your partner can have and share together to say, hey, things have gotten stale, and I know that we love each other a tremendous amount, but I think we can do better. And, I do all of these things. Sometimes I feel like it's not appreciated, and I don't say that to attack you. I don't want to come off as judgmental or critical. I just say that to say, what can I do to make you feel appreciated, to make you feel loved? Maybe I'm not doing something right. That sort of humility is pretty much going to be universally appreciated, especially if you're dealing with a partner who, of course, wants to have a quality relationship with you. I think those sorts of conversations aren't really had too much in today's culture. And I think by inviting those conversations into your life, both proactively to ensure that your partner doesn't get lazy, and maybe reactively to say, you know what, this is where we are, and I love us enough to change it, and I want to, and I'm committed to it. What do you say? You're probably gonna spark some excitement in your partner. They're probably gonna be excited, like, yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to have back massages, or to give you a back massage. I've always wanted to make you happy. I just never knew how. Things have gotten stale. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the reactions you get from your partner if you're willing to do that. So that's number 4, how to get your men to invest equally in a relationship. Number 5, dealing with men that get too sexual too quickly. This is obviously more in the dating realm. This is a very common problem that I hear women have. I like a guy, but he ruined it. He just got way too sexual, way too quickly. It was just the biggest turnoff. How to deal with that? Well, the answer is qualification, actually. Qualification could mean, one way you can use qualification in this scenario, you meet a guy, you really like him, and you're like, I hope he's not like the rest. You could tell a story. You know, I really appreciate you. It's so refreshing to have someone that I can bond and have a connection with. The last guy I was talking to, good God, he got way too sexual way too quickly, and it just drove me up the wall. Like, I'm a very sexual creature, but quite frankly, I like to build up to it. I like to make sure that you're someone that I can have a real connection with, some depth. I really like that about you. And so basically, you're coloring them in that way. And then what they're gonna do when they hear that is like, oh, yeah, I am that guy. Or you're basically telling them that that's how they should behave. Again, qualification is filtering out the bad, keeping the good. And it seems like normal conversation, but it's really, really effective if you understand how to use it. Tell stories. Tell stories of nightmare stories of things men have done, and see their reactions. You know, if they say, oh my God, I would never do that, it drives me crazy. I have some guy friends that do that to women all the time, and I can't believe what I'm seeing when I see that. Then, you know, you're dealing with a guy who probably isn't going to get too sexual too quickly. You know, you're probably dealing with a man who has some social and emotional intelligence working for him. But that's a simple form of qualification, extremely powerful, extremely effective, and extremely simple. You can use it in text, you can use it over dinner, on a first date, as a funny story, something you can both laugh at, poke fun at, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the results. And if you really want, you know, tell him. Some men don't really, they don't pick up on body language as well as women do, I've found. Many of them, not all of them. But you might say, you know, when I'm really interested in a guy, like I can feel it. Like I'm looking into his eyes. I'm looking into his lips. It's really deep. It's hot and heavy and it's intimate. And then basically what you're doing is you're doing those things as you're describing it to him. And then he's like, oh, she's talking about me. Like this is going somewhere. And so really you're leading it, but you're giving him permission to be passionate and sensual with you in a way and in a pace that you're comfortable with. And that's the power of qualification. It's really, really, it sounds like basic conversation, but it's not. It's deep psychology. So, too sexual too quickly, handled. Number 6, how to know when to keep trying versus to let go in a relationship. This is another one I hear really, really, really often. Thank God for this questionnaire, because again, these are patterns that you have told us that you found. The 30,000 foot answer to this question, right? The general answer is to say, give it 90 days. Give it 90 days of you personally taking responsibility for the status of the relationship. And I don't mean to say that everything is your fault, because it's not. There's two sides to everything, and quite frankly, he's probably contributed to as much of the stagnation of the relationship as perhaps you have. But if you say, you know what, I really like this guy, I'm not willing to let it go, I don't want it to let it go if I can help it, I'm gonna try to meet my partner's needs on the deepest level possible. I'm gonna try to understand him in a way that no one else has ever understood him. And in 90 days, I'm gonna invite him to do the same for me. And if we can become closer in this way over this 90-day period, great. If, however, you do this, and I mean really commit to this in a heartfelt way, not a judgmental way, not in a frustrated way where you go back and forth and you feel like you're hitting a brick wall. I mean, you really commit to, I'm gonna give this my best. If after 90 days, you're still dealing with someone who's incredibly selfish in the relationship, then it may be time to let go. Quite frankly, people can change and you can invite the best of them to come out. However, some people are more naturally inclined to be disagreeable, to be selfish, to be entitled, maybe. And that's one way you can tell that you're recognizing the red flags very, very early, is if you do your best with the most heartfelt understanding meaning, you know, our relationship's getting stale, but it's because his mom withheld love from him, and he just doesn't know how to love. Like, that's very judgmental. It's very critical. If, on the other hand, you recognize that your partner you're dealing with a masculine man. You're dealing with someone who doesn't really show his emotions that well. Maybe one thing you can do is bond with him in things that interest him. Hey, I know that, insert sports team here is your favorite team. I'd love to go on a date with you. Let's go to a bar together and just have some drinks like we're dating again and go watch your favorite team together. He's probably gonna love that idea. He's probably gonna want to spend time with you doing those things. And that's what I mean, is you really give it your best for those 90 days. And see if your partner if he reciprocates. Thank you so much. I love the time that we're spending together. I feel like our relationship's getting better. What can I do for you? If your partner if you choose to step forward and invite the best part of your partner out, and they do so, they close that gap with you, and it brings you closer together, then by all means, keep trying, keep fighting. But if after 90 days, nothing's changing, you might not be with the right person. Maybe you didn't know about the pen model. Maybe you're someone who's extremely extroverted and you're dealing with a very masculine man who doesn't like to be social. He likes to work on things, and he's more interested in things than he is in people. By all means, you can work on that. Like, there have definitely been relationships where that's been the case, and I've taught couples the pen model, and I can give you one very specific example. There was a woman she was a high psychotic, high extrovert, and her partner was a nice guy. And she goes, this is probably the healthiest relationship I've ever been in, because most of my exes have been really, really abusive or derogatory in the past. And I like that he wasn't this, but I'm bored. Like, I love him, but I'm absolutely bored. And one of the advice that I gave her was, take him to a sex shop. Just do something spontaneous and sexy and exciting and adventurous, and tell him that that's what you're looking for, that those are the things that you want him to come up with for, like, date ideas or what have you. Whatever excites you. And if he puts in that time and effort, keep trying. I mean, give it 90 days of heartfelt, true understanding and empathy for your partner. Invite the best side of them out. And again, after 90 days, if they don't, it's time to let it go. If this has been helpful to you, please let me know in the comments section. This was extremely helpful for me. I learned a lot from this questionnaire. Thank you so much for participating. We're gonna be doing these every single month. Our goal is to get at least 100 unique answers every month. The idea being is that we want to put this all together, and also we want to reward your time, your effort. We want to make sure that if you're going to give us your time to fill in these questionnaires, that we're going to give you some outrageously exciting gifts. So every month, we are going to reward a grand prize winner. For the month of January, the grand prize winner was gifted coaching. 6-month coaching contract. That is $1,800 value. That's $1,800 value. And we are gifting that away to somebody because they took the time to take the questionnaire, to give us this. We couldn't have provided this if they hadn't have given us their time. So if you want to participate in the questionnaire, if you want a chance to win, by all means, take the questionnaire. It doesn't take very long. And you can win. The 2 runner-up winners got $500 gifted value. In coaching, products, you name it, services, they get to redeem it. So for the month of February, if you want a chance to win, take the questionnaire, and I look forward to seeing your results. Thank you so much. Cool.
SAFW Live Event, February 10th, 2020, take 2.
Okay, and does anyone in the audience have any questions?
How do you know if you're the selfish one or your partner is the selfish one?
How do you know? So the question was, how do you know if you're the selfish one in the relationship or if it's your partner? Now, the truth is it's probably both, but if you don't mind, can I dig deeper? Maybe in past relationships or a specific example that you're thinking of? So your identity is going to be, you won't be in the video. It's just a specific example. You need help?
Yeah.
Okay. Has that ever happened to you specifically, where you were uncertain if it was you or your partner that was being selfish?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Don't name this person, but think back to it. What moment specifically do you recall where you're like, I can't tell? Like, what happened? What was going on in your relationship?
There were probably many times where some of our conflicts I created, and I think I would look for excuses why it wasn't my fault.
Okay, so if I heard you correctly, there were times where conflicts arose and you felt like you created them, but you also kind of felt like they weren't your fault. Maybe you tried to address a problem and it created conflicts, but you maybe felt like you were addressing it, but it created conflict and you felt like that's not necessarily your fault. Is that what I'm understanding? Give or take? Okay. So let's say that you're in a relationship and you notice a problem and you want to address it with your partner and your partner reacts negatively to it. Who's wrong? Are you creating problems in the relationship? Are you in your head wondering, did I do this? Is this my fault? Am I making it worse by doing this? And I would say no, but I would also ask what's the intention here? How are you displaying your body language? How are you communicating? Are you communicating with frustration and anger and upset? And is it coming off as extremely critical? Or is it more heartfelt? I'm humbling myself and I don't know what to do, but I see this problem in our relationship and I'd love for us to fix it because I love you so much. Which one was it? Probably the first one. Right. And so like I said in the beginning, probably both of your fault. But we can mitigate that unnecessary conflict just in the way we communicate. And sometimes that takes an extreme amount of humility, especially if you feel like you're not at fault, especially if you feel like you've been wronged in a relationship and your partner doesn't see it that way. It takes an extreme amount of humility to sit down and say, okay, I'm willing to look at things from your perspective, but I love us enough to want to fix this. Like, just help me understand how you see things and maybe we can work this out. It's very different than, why do you always do this? Like, it's very critical. And if someone feels attacked, they're gonna push back. One great metaphor that I often use with people that I'm working with live is if you push against something, if you push against someone, they're often gonna push back to keep their position. But if you just let go, there's no resistance. You're not pushing against anything and no one's pushing against you. And that's a great way to communicate, is just to let go of your presuppositions of the way things are. Presuppositions that you're 100% right and that your partner's 100% wrong. Maybe they see something you don't, or maybe you're communicating in a way that's extremely critical to them and quite frankly, you're hurting their feelings and they're reacting negatively, but you're blaming them for being negative. You never know. You have to be really humble. You have to critique your own form of communication. You have to be willing to say, okay, in all areas, how am I contributing to the excess conflict in this relationship? So, extreme humility. Cool. No more questions? You don't have any questions? No? Do you have any questions? No. All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, that's it. Cool.
I never felt like I had problems communicating.
No?
I used to not think that, but history. I felt like I would start off very. I don't even have my words together.
No, you're good. He's gonna do another take, and then basically I'll repeat the question as I understood it, and then we'll go from there.
SAFW Live Event, February 10th, 2020, take 3.
So the next question was, what if you feel like the way you're communicating is actually very humble and you're still getting conflict in the relationship? Is that an accurate summary?
You start off humble, but still somehow it escalates.
So you start off humble and still somehow it escalates. Well, I would ask you, on the pen model, as I broke it down, where would you say you score? Are you high psychotic, high extrovert, high neurotic? So psychotic, again, is someone who's very socially, spontaneously motivated. They like excitement, spontaneity. If they don't feel like they're going to work today, they won't.
I'm socially driven, but the mental checklists.
So high psychotic, high neurotic. Is that correct? Yeah? Okay. This X that you're referring to, were they a combination of bad boy and nice guy, or were they just bad boy? Combination? Would you say they had emotional and social intelligence? Yes. Okay. So they were probably compatible with you. They were bad boy, they were nice guy, they had emotional intelligence and social intelligence, and yet, when you tried to bring up a problem, it would still escalate. Is that correct? Okay. How would they respond to whatever it is that you were saying? Would they feel like you were attacking them? They would. Okay. I would challenge that actually they weren't very socially and emotionally intelligent. I would say that they acted in a way that displayed more narcissistic type behavior, in that everything was about them to a negative degree. Critiques were negatively about them. If you were trying to humble yourself to address a problem, they assumed it was about them. And everything was about them to the point where they just couldn't take constructive criticism. Is that fair? So they were partly narcissistic. Correct? I mean, you tell me. I don't know. I'm trying to fill in the blanks. I wasn't there for it.
I got a lot of, when I would try to give feedback, I got a lot of, well, you're not thinking about how that makes me feel.
Okay. You're not thinking about how that makes me feel. Were you dealing with someone who is extremely sensitive? Yes, she said with laughter. Okay. You're dealing with someone who's extremely sensitive, and no matter how humbly you tried to address something, it always escalated because they always felt like they were being attacked, and it was impossible for you to bring anything up because you made them feel negatively. This would go back to number 6, how to know when to keep trying or to let go. Would you say that you did that for more than 90 days to the best of your ability? No. Okay. Would you say that if you had done that for 90 days, be very honest, do you think you could have inspired your partner to change?
I do.
You do? So you think they would not be overly sensitive anymore? Or narcissistic in that sense?
I think it could have been worked on. I don't think it would have fully gone away.
You don't think it would have ever fully gone away? Right. Time to let go. If there's something about someone that's a fatal flaw that A, they're unwilling to work on, B, every time you bring it up, it's a source of conflict because you're attacking them, they're not willing to work on it. They don't want to. After 90 days of heartfelt understanding, hey, look, man, you probably should go see a therapist. Like, you probably need to work on this because it's leaking into our relationship, and despite my best efforts, I can't break through to you. You won't allow me because everything's an attack on you. And I love you, but I have to love me more. I have to. It's time to let it go. And to be honest with you, letting it go could be the best thing that ever happened to them. It could be. Because it might be the chaotic event in their life that forces them to open their eyes and say, I need to change. Because maybe they felt comfortable in the relationship, thought you'd never leave, and felt like they didn't have to change. It's hard to say, it's hypothetical, but if you don't think it would have ever gone away, you have to love yourself more. Have to. Does that answer your question? Cool. Do you have any more questions?
No.
Alex's not going to like you if you have any more questions later. All right, I think that's it, Alex. All right.
That was my favorite part.